Namaste. Hope you're having a great life. Welcome to another presentation of the Chakra Yoga system given at the Pyramid Yoga Center in Thailand. This one is about the energy world and particularly the symbolism of the snake. So let's go to the first one. Snakes, found in every culture. This cool serpent, usually it's in the cobra family, it can be found in the cultures throughout the world. She or he is there from the beginning in the tree of life, crawling around all the temples of Angkor Wat, everywhere in India, wrapped around pillars in Chinese temples, flying with feathers in the Mayan lands, peeking out of the Holy Grail in Masonic churches, and foremost, in the yoga world, coiled up at the base of our spine. Here we have a depiction of an Egyptian snake standing up, very much looking like a cobra with the hood open. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 snakes. Now, in every temple and tomb in Egypt, we find the serpent shown in many different positions because there are a number of aspects or perspectives on this creature, all representing different angles of the energy world. On the left, she is standing straight up. You can see still wavering, but coming straight up, tail at the bottom, head at the top. And often you'll see this along the back of the pharaoh is a serpent standing straight up, indicating energy coming straight up the spine. On the left, standing straight up. Below, we find her wavering along under the boat like water, a wave which is holding up the boat, a wave of water. In the language of mystic symbolism, these two snakes are each telling a story about the energy waves. Obviously, you can see the waves in the one at the bottom. Now here we have another depiction. Some of the main gods cruising along the boat that has two very alert cobras guiding or guarding the way. You can see they're coiled here, but they're standing straight up, and the head is up. The head is usually representing the awareness, the alertness, the seventh chakra in yoga. A black cat just happened to be walking around and parked in front of the picture when I had taken this. You don't see too many cats out there in the desert, but that one was there. Now this is part of the same scene. You can see there's a boat up here, the serpent, and all of these serpents with the heads up. The boat is going towards the island of the gods, and again the cobras are erect, which is alert. Arrows are squirting back little red drops. You can't quite see that here, but there's little red drops coming back up. Not sure what that indicates. The guys on the bottom are riding on snakes like miniature personal boats. You see the head of the cobras here, leading them forward. So the cobra has a lot to do in the mystic understanding symbolism of hieroglyphs in Egypt. I don't understand everything about Egyptian hieroglyphs, but I do understand about the cobra. I've researched it all over the world. So from that picture we go to the next slide. Again, all these serpents on the top, there's 9 of them. And again, number 9 is significant in various cultures, from the Yantra Yoga system to the Egyptians to the Mayans. 9 lords of time in Egypt, 9 forces that create the universe. So the forces of the 9 chakras are all looking forward, all looking in the same direction on the journey beyond the material world. Those who are aware of the Yantra system will recognize the importance of having all of your forces united. This is chakra alignment, and this is important for getting the energy to flow all the way through for our journey beyond the body to higher states, a journey to the stars as it was looked at in Egyptian times. Still is to many people actually. Now, each of these serpents below has 6 waves. Those on the left are darker in color, those on the right are lighter. The light and the dark side of each of the body chakras is portrayed. The seventh one is not a wave, but an awakened power of awareness. Again, you see the seventh wave is the head of the serpent coming up. The head is leading up. This is the power of awareness, while it's the light-colored serpents leading to the front, and the darker colored ones are following. Light leads and darkness follows. Day and night. Ida and Pingala, the twin serpents. Archaeologists and Egyptologists who do not have the background and symbolism of occult powers will just interpret this as one of the deities wearing a fancy hat, which is usually worn by this particular deity. The sun disk in the middle is here, and you can see Ida and Pingala on each side. You see another representation of it down below, different levels of it. The division of two different kinds of energy, positive, negative, masculine, feminine. The sun disk in the middle is known as a symbol of the god Ra. We could call him the One. These dual serpents are often recurring symbol in yoga. They are Ida and Pingala, and their characteristics are explained in detail with the techniques to work with these masculine and feminine energies. It's not just theory. These are real energies that you learn to feel and work with in yoga, and the Egyptians knew this stuff. Now this one looks almost American. If you look at the red stripes, like the American flag, usually you find stars around, blue on the outside, and an eagle. And the eagle here has a serpent caught by this eagle. It looks like the eagle is eating the serpent. So the serpent is no longer in the body. The power to fly has been granted. The scepters of power in each claw here is usually attributed to the pharaohs carrying this scepter. The eagle has no head and replaced by a serpent in the one below. If you can see these details, you can blow this up on your computer or whatever. All of these serpents we have seen so far are from the land of Egypt. But out of Egypt we have Moses, who wrote about the serpent in the Tree of Life. I have another video previous to this that explains Moses and his exodus, and how he was actually an Egyptian who left Egypt with the Israelites, and he was educated as an Egyptian, so he knew all of this stuff. He wrote about the serpent in the Tree of Life. He's the one who wrote the first books of the Bible. We see it here on the right, coiled around the trunk of a tree, which is referred to as the tree of knowledge of good and evil as well. And on the left, the trunk becomes the spine, and what we could find at the top of the trunk is the foliage of the brain, where we judge everything, giving us this knowledge of good and evil. From here, we began creating our civilized world outside of the garden. A little too much intelligence, not enough intuition or wisdom. Now, from a Masonic church north of Manila, this chalice with a serpent in it. So the church was built by Freemasons in the 19th century and is full of rather unusual symbolic symbols not found in Roman Catholic churches. Since drinking of the Holy Grail was a way of getting to heaven, we may contemplate and question what power this serpent has to get us there. What were they drinking exactly? Looking at the spiraling serpent in the tree from a previous slide, then looking at the path of the Earth going through space, we see a similar pattern of spinning around while moving forward. As it turns out, everything in the universe is actually moving in this manner, from electrons to the Earth to our DNA. Our DNA is kind of in the middle between the electrons and the universe, size-wise and speed-wise, but everything is spinning this way. And the serpent is a symbol of this spinning. Now as we go over to India, of course we find snakes everywhere. In all temples, around trees. are two serpents, Ida and Pingala, on the left side of this depiction. You can see that they are different serpents, but they are obviously entangled. On the right side is a serpent with 6 coils, which represent the 6 chakras, and coming up to 6 heads, but all from one serpent. It's all one energy, which divides into the different characteristics of the chakras. In a two-dimensional flattened image, it doesn't really portray the reality of a moving spiral, but it can give us an impression. It's symbolic. Here we have snakes on an altar. This is from a temple in Rishikesh. We have a coiled serpent with a head up above the lingam. The lingam is this in the middle. This is the yoni down here. And the cobra is lifting up, coiled around, 3.5 coils again, coming up with the head up, symbolizing that the energy has risen above raw creative power of sex. The lingam is, of course, sitting in the yoni, the penis and vagina respectively. In India, sexuality is seen as the creative power of the universe, which it is. Nothing to be ashamed of or feel dirty about. It is raw creative power in its reality. Now we come to a Thai temple. In Thailand, you can see the serpent with dragon heads. Instead of just being a plain serpent, it has more elaborate heads, but you see the wave all the way up and coming up into these different heads. One principal head, the 7th one, again always representing the 7th chakra, the element of awareness. In modern physics, reality is said to be made of waves of possibilities. The various heads, usually 7, are coming from the 7 chakras, all united in one. Now, in Eastern philosophy or science, which are the same thing in the East, one looks at the similarity between things rather than the differences. Although the serpent on the left head, the head turns into a dragon head. This is Chinese style from a Chinese temple, obviously. And you see this in many of the Thai versions, that the serpent becomes a dragon head. As many of the Thai versions, everywhere in Thailand you'll see that. The body is still one of a serpent, you can see, obviously, representing the same phenomena of an energy coil. The 3-coiled serpent in the standard Indian symbol in the middle, again it's Kundalini, the cobra. The Egyptian cobra on the right has coils that look like waves and look similar, and again the head coming up, alert and awakened. Look at the similarities between these things and not the differences. It's all in the serpent, the representation of a wavering creature. India gives us this picture of an inner heart chakra. A yogi in the center, sitting under the tree of life. On the outside of the 8 orange petal in a serpent in a full circle. The head, the tail going around the serpent is eating itself. This is symbolic of self-fulfilling. And this Guru Haridyamanas, the heart chakra, the heart chakra within the 4th chakra, Anahata. It's the center of intuition, where the student and the teacher are the same being, the inner guru, self-fulfilling. Now we're back to Ida and Pingala, often and generally portrayed as a wavering from side to side. But if you're seeing it in 3-dimensional, it's a circle. It's a spiral, spiraling upwards. And they say spiraling up and down, but that's a little bit of a misinterpretation. It's actually going to the left and to the right, clockwise, counterclockwise. So in a 2-dimensional, it usually looks like the serpents are wavering from side to side, but they're wrapping around the spine. The flattened view of the chakras facing the front, like they look here, is a misconception. They're actually spinning around this way, and the spine is the center. The wavy line above is one of the ways the serpent moves, but it's also this drawn representation of a 3D spiral, which, how do you draw a spiral on a flattened piece of paper? We do better these days with computer graphics, but the reality is it's a spiral. And then, could there be any relation between the twin serpents and our double helix? Energy in spirals, creating molecular configurations, and our DNA isn't stagnant. It's always wavering and wiggling, kind of like a snake. Over on the Mexican side of the world, we have the pyramid temple in Teotihuacan, which has serpents at its base, culminating in dragon heads again. Look like dragon heads. At the bottom you can see there's a wavering serpent, which is an energy wave holding up the whole pyramid. The ancients knew about this wavering aspect of energy. We have been taught to think of energy, electricity, and other forms of power as a recent discovery, and an ego that cannot accept. There have been civilizations that understood and used it in ways we have not yet figured out. We're just rediscovering these civilizations with modern excavations, actually. Quetzalcoatl, the Mayan tradition. Here we note the body is that of a snake. The serpent has feathers on top, indicating the feathers of a flying creature like a bird. A flying snake is an awakened snake above the ground. In the Mayan tradition, a large part of their education system was aimed at awakening the serpent, getting it to rise above the ground and fly, hence the feathered serpent. And in their scheme of evolution, man was supposed to evolve and become a true human being rather than the animalistic nature of modern day man, consumers and soldiers and all of that. In Buddhist symbolism, we have a Buddha sitting between twin serpents, with one serpent head, a larger, more elaborate one coming to the top. It's another way of indicating the energies of the chakras all rising into awareness, an awareness that goes beyond repetitive, animalistic, and programmed behavior into conscious behavior. So, Buddhist icon, people burn incense and do prayers, but in the yoga tradition of Kundalini awakening, the middle serpent is a unification of all the chakra energies. In many other icons around Thailand, Buddha is seen sitting on a three-coiled serpent, which rises up into a seven-headed serpent. Here we have, back to Egypt, King Tut. And you can see the serpent. They also have a vulture, which is a creature that flies above, high above, and looks down at its prey. The serpent coming up the back of most pharaohs is coming out of the third eye, indicating that the power of the energy world is directed through the mind. This is indicating that the pharaoh was in charge, conscious, and directing the energies and capable of ruling the nation, giving kingly command over others because had command of himself. Self-mastery was the goal of their education, and from there you could rule the nation. So that's all about snakes for now. In yoga we go deeper into understanding, feeling, become familiar with these energies, uniting them and bringing them up into consciousness. So you don't need to be afraid of snakes. Learn to understand them. I hope your understanding of chakra yoga energy is a little better than it was. It's a great world to become familiar with. It's all about getting to know ourselves. And that's all for now. Good luck with all this knowledge. Integrate it, breathe it into you. Namaste.